Well, hello friends. Welcome back to the program. Today we are going to look at the profiler in Serenity because in the last video when I was using the profiler, I noticed all these little things that I wanted to fix. So I thought today we could just do some improvements to it. So we'll start by just grabbing a profile and I can show you some of the stuff that I mean. So we'll just profile as terminal, resizing it a little bit here. And we'll take a look at this profile here. So the first thing that I noticed if we invert the view is that the disassembly view down here, it no longer shows per instruction samples, like they're all 0. And I think that broke when we moved to shared libraries because these addresses here that you see, they're relative to the base of the library rather than where the library was actually loaded in this process that we profiled. So probably need to do some offset math for that. And then also since we added shared libraries, they all have these, the name of the shared library as a prefix here in the stack frame thingy. And I feel like it's kind of cluttering up the space. So I would rather maybe move the library to its own column because we're pretty consistent about putting stuff in namespaces based on the library name anyway. You can see here that GUI widget and graphics style painter, although we didn't put terminal widget into the VT namespace, but we probably should. So as long as you see the namespace, usually you can work out what library it is in anyway, so it's kind of redundant, but I figured we could just move it to the side. And then some other stuff is I would like to have not just this tree view here or graph view where you see the hottest call stacks, but I would also like to have a view where you can see each individual sample that we took. So that would be a cool thing to have. So then you could sort of just step through the program sample by sample and see what we were doing at any given time. Because you sort of get a picture of that when you do this, but it's something that I've liked using in other profilers, especially on instruments on the Mac, where you can just go sample by sample, and it sort of helps you build an intuition about what the program is really doing and in what order things happen. And yeah, I mean, I have a lot of ideas, but I think we're just going to start with these. So first we'll fix the sample counting bug that we don't see samples for instructions here. And then I think we'll move that thing to a column, and then we will attack the sample by sample view. Yeah, okay, so let's see. The disassembly model indeed is where this stuff is happening. So the disassembled code on the bottom is a table view that uses a disassembly model as its backing model. And basically, when you click on a function, we will just look in the elf for the code for that function and then disassemble it on the fly here using our own libx86. So right down here we have samples at this instruction, which is what we are presumably miscounting. So we have address in profiled program, events per address. So I think there's just something wrong with this thing, right? So address in profile program is symbol plus offset into symbol. Yeah, so we just need to add the base of the library here. So what do we call that? We know what node we're in, and it's not a kernel node, so it's the library data base address. Okay, yeah, so it's just a base address right here. All right. so I bet you that this is the fix. And I don't know why I waited like a month to work on this, but it is what it is. Da, 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 da. Did we get some samples here? Yes, we did. See, one sample. And it also gets color coded. So if you have, I mean, this was not a particularly interesting profile, but let's get one of the file manager on the desktop. Ooh. Okay, memcopy. Yeah, so you can see here, like all the samples are in this one instruction, the repeated move. So it gets red because it's really hot. It looks pretty neat. And then of course we can't see these because we're not root and they're kernel symbols. Anyway, so yeah, let's just commit this fix first of all. Unbreak disassembly model after shared library introduction. This was failing to take the library base address into account when tallying up the samples at each instruction. Cool. Okay. And then let's move the library stuff away from there. So that should also be in this model, although it would be in the data function. So let's see. Or no, I'm in the wrong thing. I want to be in the profile model, not the disassembly model. So profile model, data, display, stack frame. So for the stack frame column, we just show the symbol from that node. So node is a profile node, and we build up this tree of profile nodes and aggregate them per your preferences, like whether it should be inverted aggregation, top functions aggregation, stuff like that. So we build up this tree of profile nodes, and that's what we display in this model. And now we're just going to add like which binary this comes from, essentially, like binary name. I guess we could call it that, or even like object name maybe. And we'll put that here, I think. Or maybe first is better, but then you can still collapse it. I don't know, we'll see. So we'll call it object name, and then if you're asking for the object name, so we have a new column here. If index column is column object name, then return node. Well, we're gonna have to implement that somehow. So where do we get the symbol from anyway? Oh, I guess when we create the profile node. So I think what we'll do is we'll just pass along a string here, like object name. And we're going to use a fly string, because a fly string is, it's sort of equivalent to string, except it's guaranteed to be globally unique in the program. So because we're going to have the same file name over and over and over many times, we can save a bunch of memory by just using a fly string. Although I think we can even do it this way. It's a little tidier, and then we'll just move those. Okay, and so we'll move that, and object name, move object name. And it seems like I need to include ActFly string. Maybe we should update. No, I already had. Okay. Got to keep updating those copyrights. Somebody asked me, by the way, the other day about why we put copyright headers in every file in Serenity. And I have two main reasons for that. So part of it is that I just think it looks nice because it's sort of the first thing that I ever saw when I looked into open source software as a kid was like these big copyright headers. And that always just looked so neat to me. So it's kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of nostalgic about it maybe. I find it looks cool. But the other part is that I want to encourage people to put their own name and their own email and their own copyright dates, right? So I want to give people this obvious place to go and put their stamp on stuff so that they can feel ownership. And I think the copyright header is very good for that, because I still remember the first time I put my copyright in open source software project, and I really liked it. It made me feel like oh wow, I made this thing and I put my stamp on it. That's so cool. So I want to have a place where people can do that. Anyway, so now we have a place to store that. We just need a getter for it also. So object name. So let's see. Now we just need to call this with the appropriate arguments everywhere. Let's see, what are you whining about? Clang Tidy keeps telling me to use range-based for loops, and I guess we should, but I'm not going to go through that right now. What are you upset about? Oh, you want another argument here, object name, right? Lately, I've really warmed up to this pattern of like passing things by value and then moving them instead, because that has a chance of avoiding copies sometimes. Whereas if you pass by const reference and then you sync it somewhere, then you always make a copy. But this pattern allows you to sometimes avoid a copy, which is neat. So okay, I'm a little bit lost here, so I'm just going to use the compiler to tell me what I'm missing. Right, we don't have the object name from anywhere. We need to work that out. So we have the frame symbol. Where did we store that? Frame has symbol right here. Okay, so I guess we're just gonna, whoever is populating this thing, he's gonna have to supply the object name as well. Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit mechanical right now. I'm not thinking so much about what this is. I just know that I have like these patterns and I need to update them to have this thing also. Wait, what don't you like? Okay, I don't know what you don't like. 274. Oh, I don't have the object name. Oh, this is the part where we get to come up with the object name. Okay. So symbolic case. Oh, this is where it gets added. So you have this library metadata class, and you call symbolicate, and he will prepend his own name. Very sneaky. So I think what we're gonna do here is we're gonna have a flight string object name, library metadata. Actually, what's in that thing? So we need to find the library, and then we have his name here, right? Library is footer. Okay, so we're looking up the library in our library metadata. I think the main executable is probably also considered a library in this context, which is a little bit weird. So we could probably have better names for these things, but it's not the end of the world. Wait, what does that thing actually do? Library metadata symbolicate. I guess we can just call this thing directly. Yeah. And then do we actually need this function anymore? Library metadata symbolicate. I think nobody's calling this. So, bye-bye. And then I don't know why this guy's upset. Some difference between Clang and GCC going on here clearly, because GCC happily compiles those. And CLion uses Clang for its highlighting. So sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect, and I'm not sure why, but we're just going to ignore that right now, I think. So now that we've done this, I guess we should have a fallback here. So, or they would just be empty, but symbol could be like something like that. I should probably handle the column object name in more places, like giving it a name, for example. Let's call it object name. Maybe object is fine. Okay, so that's a little bit weird, but I guess it's kind of neat. It's weird seeing these expander thingies here. They're kind of not super properly aligned. Like there needs to be more spacing. That's an interesting problem. I don't know why. I feel like they should be further to the right in general. Like, why are they so far left here? Anyway. Also, this should not be sortable. So now you can opt out of seeing that if you want, if you prefer, right? And that is kind of cool. It's like, oh, I don't care about the object. Or I do care about the object, actually. So what we're showing here is actually not necessarily like, it's not strictly the object name, but rather it's the name of the memory region that this was captured, the sample. but it's as close to an object name as we're going to get. I guess we could strip out the .text suffix. That might be nice. Let's do that. So object name. What would be the nice way of doing it? Let's see. I guess we could tidy it up here. Ends with, if it ends with like something like this, right? Then M object name is object name. Substring. And that is 7 characters. So it's a little bit hackish, but maybe it'll be okay. And otherwise, we'll just do that. And then, in fact, we could even also go ahead and canonicalize the path. Now, I almost want to put this out of line now because it's getting kind of complex, this constructor. Don't like having this much logic in the header. So let's see. Let's just move it down here. Yeah, anywhere is fine. So put this boy, and then we can just do that. Cool. Yeah, so now passing this by value kind of doesn't make sense anymore because now we are actually doing a bunch of stuff to it. So this could rather be a thing like this. Yeah. Then we're gonna do some stuff to it. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit messy, but maybe it's okay. I feel like it's a bit annoying that we have these memory region names that have like the file name and then colon, .text, stuff like that. I've complained about that before, but I'm not going to do anything about it now either. We're just going to tolerate it. Canonicalized path. Okay. So what this will do is it will just fix up the path, and then we'll take the base name. Or no, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to only have the base name, so that we only get like libgui.so or libcore.so. And yeah, so we could have done this elsewhere. I don't know. But now we're doing it here. So now it looks like this, which is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Maybe we should call it object name, or object is pretty good. Yeah, it is pretty good. Okay, so I think that'll be one thing that we commit here. Move elf object name to its own profile graph column. This way you don't have to look at all the library names if you don't want to, since we're pretty good about namespacing our things. The library names are mostly redundant information. Slightly redundant information, let's say. Yeah, okay. So, and then it annoyed me that the terminal was not namespaced properly, the terminal widget. So let's go and fix that. It should really be in the VT namespace because it's part of libVT, lib virtual terminal. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Namespace VT. All right. And then some people use these, so we need to actually tell them where to find it. Cool. And the terminal app, of course, also. Yeah, it's not the most exciting change, but it's good to be consistent about this stuff. I think I really like that we are getting more and more consistent about using namespaces to correspond to library names, because it just makes stacks look so good and makes it that much faster to intuitively know where something belongs. I like that. Okay, terminal wrapper. I'm trying to get to the problem view down here. I got a keybind for it. Just still learning the keybinds I've set up for C-Line, but I'm getting better at it. Okay. Yep. So we're good. And let's take a look at what the terminal would look like now if we get a profile and flip that and see VT : So this is what we want to see, right? That something that's in libVT is in the VT namespace. And of course, libc just has to be libc because libc is libc, but everything else like libcore, libgui, very, very cool. Okay. Put terminal widget in the VT namespace. All right. So what else did we want to do here? Oh yes, the sample by sample view. So let's see how we would approach that. So currently, when you load a profile and we just see the tree, so I guess we have a tree view here. Wait. Okay, so wait. Let's look at the UI. I have to go and take a look at it. And I guess we will profile the system menu for some reason. Okay, one sample, very exciting. So up here is the profile timeline view, where you can select the time slice of samples that you want to look at. So now I'm talking about basically replacing the bottom two things with just a list of the samples that's in your selection from the timeline. And maybe we'll just put a tab here, actually. So like we'll give you put this in a tab widget and then have like graph, a call graph, or well, it's not strictly a call graph. It's just a sample tree, or samples. Tree or samples. Yeah, we'll figure something out. Let's start by adding tap widget. So we have a main widget. Profile timeline is up top in the main widget layout. Sure. So now we want to add a tab widget to the bottom. And I think we need to actually include libGUI tab widget because we have not been using that here. Okay. So the first one will be the tree tab. And it's going to be a GUI widget. And the title will be tree, or maybe call tree. And then everything that was previously just going in the main widget will now go in the tree tab. So let's see how that works. Maybe I should make a profile and save it, just so we have something. So let's do this. La 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 la. Okay, so now we have a perf_core file here, and this doesn't look quite right. The tab is there, but something else is missing. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this file that we made. And oops. And then it will always be there. We don't have to keep reprofiling. So where am I messing up here? Tree tab. I added the widget and then I put a vertical splitter. Oh, I guess I have to put a layout in there in the tab widget. We could be doing this with GML, I suppose, but the changes I want to make, they're very programmatic in nature anyway, so it doesn't feel like we would get that much out of GML here. So now this is looking pretty cool. Now we just want to add a second option. So tree tab, and then maybe we'll put the samples tab first, just because we're going to work on that one. Samples. Samples tab. And of course we'll set a layout on that one too. But in here we're just going to have a very simple table view with just the samples. And yeah, right. So it will be different than the profile model that we have. We're going to have to massage the data and show it in a different way, basically. So samples table view, samples tab, add GUI table view. Set model, profile, samples model. So we already have a model on the view here, or on the profile, but now we're going to need to make multiple models. So this is really just the call tree model. So maybe we should rename that. We can rename it later though. Right now we just want to see we already actually have multiple models. We have a disassembly model. So now we will also add a samples model. Samples model. Yeah. And then we want to go and we'll just copy the profile model to start with something, I think. So let's see. So profile, how is this going to work? I guess we're just gonna go look at it and see what we can figure out here. So samples model will have, there's no sample count. There's really just there's like a timestamp, and then there's a stack of frames. So actually you need to be able to select a sample, and then we want to show the backtrace somewhere. And I think in this case we're going to split, we're going to do a horizontal split. So we put all the samples on the left-hand side, and then we'll put the backtrace or the stack trace on the right side, just to make use of the space. Because if we put them in a vertical splitter, it's going to be kind of like neither of them have a lot of width to the information. They're just both vertically expanding. So yeah, I'm just thinking, is there some way that we can simplify this? But I guess sample index timestamp and maybe like the innermost frame, something like that. And actually, yeah, that's what we can show. Yes. This is not going to be a tree, so we don't need a tree column. Okay. And then so now we just want to present the data that's in the, we really just need to present the samples. So what do we have in the profile object? Because this one, we store a profile object here, and then what does profile have internally? Has a tree of profile nodes, but that's our call tree. We don't care about that right now. We just want to look directly at the profile. So the profile has events. So these are all the events. But I only want to look at the filtered events based on the timeline selection. So there's filtered event count. How can I look at only the filtered events? Is there a helper? I guess we have like the first timestamp thing here, so that's used somewhere presumably. Wait, what is this thing doing? Oh, this is something else. Timestamp filter range, that's what I want to look at. Okay, Okay, so when we're building the call tree, that's where we look at, has timestamp filter range? If so, we filter timestamps that are not in that range. Right, so we could actually make a helper here, like for each event in filter range. Something like this. And it would just do this. Or wait. That's what it would do, but how do we implement that? Yeah, so we're gonna add a little helper for this so that we don't have to do the time range filtering everywhere. I think we'll put this in the header probably, but right now I'm just gonna write it out here so that we see that it gets correct. And then if something is filtered, otherwise we'll call the callback on the event. Cool. So this becomes like that. And wait, what is the event index for here? Oh, that's a bit messy. Guess we can leave that one alone for now, but still put the helper in the header. Okay, now we have that thing to help us. So we can go in our samples model and say the row count is the profile filtered event count. Sure, that one we already had. And then we have all the column names here. So timestamp, innermost stack frame. I don't know. There's probably a better name for that. Just innermost frame. Okay, and then the data, yeah. So all of this becomes much, much simpler, obviously. So let's ignore icons, ignore everything except display. And the sample index, do we actually need that to be a thing? I guess we don't. I don't know why I thought we needed a sample index. It's kind of dumb, but we can actually just do something like return the index row that you're looking at. +1 because it's 0 based. Okay, and then the timestamp. Events at, and then oh, we need the index of the first unfiltered thing. So we need to compute that somewhere. First filtered event index. Okay, so this is where we're counting those. Sure. So we'll just put it in optional. If it's not assigned, we'll assign to it. And in the end, we will say first filtered event value or 0. Okay. So then we need to actually include samples model where we are constructing the profile, I guess. And just becomes a matter of doing that. And then obviously we forgot to update the name here. No big deal. So now first filtered event index plus index row. Now we have the event. Okay. What can we do with that? I guess we know the timestamp. Perfect. That's actually really neat. So then we can just do this here. It's a little bit gross, but okay. And then what do we do with this? So we have frames. I don't remember if they're like which order they are. So let's just grab the symbol like that, or yeah, let's just grab the symbol and see what's there. We can see. It's always weird when you're doing this kind of thing, where you're taking something existing and then just massaging it to be something else. Like this, you copy paste something, but then you massage it quite a bit to become something else. Then at least I find it hard to keep track of what I'm doing. But it still somehow feels easier than starting from scratch. Even though now I realized that it would have been much, much easier to just write the samples model from scratch because it was really uncomplicated. Okay, so these are our samples in order. So this looks very reasonable, right? Like you see that memcopy is the innermost frame. And here, as we progress through time, we see that we're doing dynamic linking, and then we enter it into the program eventually, and we start doing libgui stuff. So this, just to remind ourselves, this was starting the text editor, right? Or no, starting the browser. But I don't see any browser code here, which is kind of weird. But maybe it's just further down the stack. So these timestamps, I guess, this is just a timestamp that we get from the profile data. I think it's probably relative to the machine boot time. So what we could do, does this work, by the way? It doesn't work super correctly, I would say. Because like if I select these, I expect to see all of those. Oh wait, maybe it doesn't repaint. Oh, we need to repaint. Got it. So wait, is somebody calling update manually on that thing? And the timeline widget? I bet somebody is. Set timestamp filter range, calls rebuild tree, which calls model update. Right, so after we do, I think here we'll just say msamples model update when you're messing with the filter range. That will cause an immediate update of that instead of you having to hover over the table. Yeah. So that's very cool. And you can see all the samples in that range. Very, very nice. So now what I want to do is I want to split this just down the middle, and on the right side, if you click on one of these, I want to see the full backtrace for that individual frame. I think that could be very interesting. So let's see. So we have the samples table view. We'll put that on the left side. So this will be a horizontal box layout instead. And then, actually, maybe we should even make it a splitter, now that I think about it. So maybe we should put a horizontal splitter inside here. And then we don't need a layout. And then individual sample view is samples tab, add GUI table view. Yeah, so this is going to be another table view. I think that's probably the best, because a tree view doesn't really make sense. In fact, we could be lazy here and just use a text box, but I think if we do a table view, then we can show the object names in a separate column and stuff like that. It will be better. So set model. I think actually that one we're gonna set that model on the fly when you select something in the when you activate something on the left side. So basically, in the samples table view, on should we do this on selection? Yeah, on selection is okay. Let's activate on selection for extra niceness. On activation. Okay, so we've activated an index in the samples table view, so now we just want to show that sample on the right side. So we want to individual sample view, set model, and now we're going to create a model on the fly here. So individual sample model. Yeah. Create. Profile, and now we really just need the sample index. So wait, how do we get that? I guess it's the index. Okay, it's been a while since I was using these. So index.data, and then we get the GUI model role. Display. Oh wait, but it's we need to get the. Wait, we have a user custom. That one. We'll use the custom role. So when you ask for the custom role of the samples model, then we will give you the sample index into the profile. So Custom return first filtered event index plus index row. Yes. Okay, now you can ask for that. And I don't know why syntax highlighting is not working correctly here. So I feel like sometimes it gets a little out of whack. I don't know how to tell if something died or what. But let's try to invalidate or just restart the IDE. I'd say maybe that's like the one thing so far that is weird in CLion, is that sometimes the syntax highlighting kind of stops working. Don't know what's up with that, but everything else is good so far. So okay, so let's make this class. And should I learn from my mistake and make it from scratch, or should I repeat my mistake? I think we'll repeat it this time. But we'll start from the samples model, which is much, much smaller. Okay. And cool. And in this guy, we want to see the, what are we going to show here? I guess we could show all kinds of information. Like we can show the address, like the exact address that we were at, and we can show the object name and the symbolicated info. So something like that, maybe. Event index. So when you create one, you have to provide the event index into the profile. Yes. And then we don't have icons, so we don't care about those. The row count. Okay, so now we want to look at the event. So the event is profile, events at, event index, and then frames size. Sure. And the columns we have are address, object name, and symbol. Okay, so the address is the event frames for this row address. We don't have a timestamp because they're all the same. Oh, actually, I guess we should have something like this. So frame is event frames index row. Yeah. Frame object name. Cool. So will this work? GUI variant. Oh, wait. To integer do 30 size t. Okay. And look at that. That's pretty cool. So the thing is upside down because I'm kind of expecting the start. Well, I'm expecting the start to be at the bottom. So let's flip this thing. Also, I guess these are kernel addresses that we just don't know what's going on here. So we should show them in hex first of all. So here, frame address will do string formatted, something like that, right? That'll look cool. And then we should also flip it around. So it's just a matter of reversing it, I guess. So like event frames size. Minus index row. Fancy schmancy. I'm not smart. Okay. So this is very cool. So you can see 0 at the bottom. We should probably just prune that frame. And here we are in the kernel, so we can't symbolicate that because I'm not running profiler as root, but if I do, we can actually see where we are here. So that's really cool. We don't put kernel as the object name. I guess we could. Also, we don't do that base name cleanup of the object names here, so maybe we should put that in a shared place. But even so, this is really neat. So these sample numbers here are not actually real, so let's fix those. Samples model. Let's see, event index is. Yeah. And if we filter, yeah, you can see the event index does now actually show the real index. Cool, cool, cool. That's so nifty. So these are milliseconds since we booted, actually. Wonder if we should, if they should be like milliseconds since the first sample or something like that instead. I mean, really it should be milliseconds since you started the profile, but we don't have that information. Well, we don't have to make everything right at this very moment. Still though, this is very, very nifty. So, of course, you can't do anything with these other than look at them. Wait, I thought that if I move the thing with the arrow key, it goes under there. That's not very good. That's a bug for sure in the table view. And also it doesn't activate, even though I said activates on selection. Boo. Okay, let's work around this and by just saying on selection. And I think maybe activates on selection mode needs a little love. But we don't have to make everything perfect right now, just some of these things, right? So now this is working better. Because this is what I wanted. I wanted to be able to just navigate the samples easily with arrow keys. Really cool. Then of course you can hide columns if you don't care. Yep. So the call tree should probably still be the main view. This is just an alternate view. Yeah. And then also, it's a bit weird. I was thinking that in this view here, you could sort of, when you select one of these, we could show you the most common subtree stack. So like which stack is the most commonly occurring one in that subtree. But I don't know, there are so many different things that we can add here, so I'm not going to go totally nuts and add everything today. I can tell that this tab widget here needs a little bit of margin internally though. What do we normally do with that? Tab. What do we normally do? We put some, well, that's a very oddly specific margins, but maybe those are good. 444, that's kind of what I was expecting, yeah. So let's just put some marge samples. I guess we'll have to put a splitter inside of a widget. That's okay though, we'll do that. Not a big deal. And then samples tab, set layout, GUI vertical box layout. Yes, this will be much nicer, I think. And then we'll do the same for the tree tab here. Tree tab, layout, set margins. Because if you don't set the margins, it doesn't look quite right. It would be cool if it could figure that out by itself, but I didn't solve that yet. So now you can see the margin here just makes it a bit more, there's a bit more space for the widgets, and it doesn't look so cramped. I think that looks a lot nicer. Okay, so wait. This, I actually messed it up though, because now it's in a vertical box. I didn't even notice at first. I was like, why doesn't the splitter work? So what did I do? Sample splitter, samples tab now has a vertical box layout. I guess I'm adding something to the samples tab that should really be in the sample splitter. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, that's more like it. And maybe we could make these sortable. I don't know. I guess we could. But don't have to get carried away with that right now. I think I'm happy with this. So we're gonna add these new things here. I should do this in C-line so that I learn. Profiler. Add a new samples view to the main UI. Profile. You can now view the individual samples in a profile one by one with new samples view. I put the old main view. The old main view moves into a call tree tab, but it remains the default view. And actually, I should make it remain the default views because I guess I didn't do that. Yeah, so when you select a sample, select a sample in the samples view, we show you the full symbolicated backtrace in a separate view on the right hand side. Cool. All right, so I just wanted to make sure that we don't accidentally forget to make the call tree the default view. So I think we'll just add the samples after the call tree. Maybe right here. Yeah, so starting in the regular call tree view, and you can go into samples if you like. Very cool. Okay, so I think this is going to be it for today's video. We've done a whole bunch of profiler work, and I feel like it was very productive. I'm very happy with the new features, and I have various ideas for more features, but this is a very good start. So, can we see? Oh, do we show hot frames in the kernel? Actually, hot instructions? Yes, we do. Okay, right there. Cool. I guess it would be nice. There are so many things I want to do with this program, but we did some good stuff today, so I'm happy. Anyway, if you made it this far, then thank you very much for checking out this video. I hope that you saw something interesting. I feel like I felt a little bit directionless today, but it turned into some pretty good stuff in the end. So that was good. And if you have some suggestions for the profiler, some features we can add, visualizations and so on, do let me know. I feel like this is one of the big strengths of Serenity is that we build our own performance tools to help ourselves understand the system. So we should always try to develop these and make them better. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video, and I will see you next time. Bye.